welcome to Commander Central episode 125. Today, get ready and pack your bags because we're going to get you set for your first Magic Fest. I'm Max.
And I'm Dana.
And tonight, once again, unfortunately, no Chris. Chris is going through some medical stuff right now, so he had to sit out for another show, but we just hope he gets better quick.
Yeah, somebody wound up asking us on Twitter on Tuesday because we were playing games, and I always post, what games I'm in, and someone asked if Chris was around. I'm like, no, I'm not sure actually where he was at. And then I literally asked you because we were playing a game. I'm like, do you know where Chris is tonight? And you're like, no, we didn't know. And then Wednesday he messaged us both like, I have a double ear infection and can't hear right now.
Yeah, so he would have been very loud, I think, tonight if he was recording.
Yeah, I know that sounds like a miserable time. So we're like, don't worry about it. If you can't record this week, we will make do.
Exactly. Another note, this was supposed to be our mailbag episode that we posted our question out on Twitter and in our Slack. We're going to save that for a couple weeks down the road when Chris is here to answer those questions with us. We want to do that as a team, and that would be a great episode.
We got a gazillion things from people, too.
We did.
So we'll have absolutely no problem with doing a ton of those on a show, but we want to have him around for it, and we have something else that is time sensitive that has to go out next week.
Which we can actually talk about now.
Oh, we can? Okay, cool.
Because we got them.
Oh, excellent. That's true.
So the week of, we're going to have to flip-flop some shows here, people. So the week of August 5th, that's the week Commander 19 spoilers start.
Yes.
So they're doing some at Gen Con over the weekend. But then, yes, they will be doing, that week will be the Commander Precon spoilers or preview season. Always use preview, not spoilers.
That's right.
And Wizards was so nice to give us a free preview card.
Or two, I believe, technically.
Two,
yeah.
Correct. So the week of August 5th, that Monday show is actually going to be our Decks You Play episode for the week.
We'll do the deck tech on Monday, and we'll do the preview card show on Thursday.
Yes. So our preview card is for the deck that will be revealed on Thursday.
And I think we're going to find out maybe some more specifics about the decks beyond just the keywords. I think this weekend, right, is the plan. So by the time this airs, I think we'll hopefully know a little more.
So by this following weekend when Gen Con, because Gen Con is the first weekend of August, I believe.
So the show will air the Monday after that. We should already have a little more details by the time you guys are listening to this.
Cool. No, this show will air the Monday before it.
Oh, that's right. Well, there we go.
So we'll learn this coming weekend about...
You're correct, yep.
Commander 19.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. So, what's new with you, Dana?
I've been playing... Well, you know what? I do have a little bit of a tale here.
Ooh.
It's not that exciting, but I decided on Saturday here at home, it's an old house that's closing in on 100 years old. So it has old school, what's called a mortise lock on all the doors inside, which are like the skeleton key locks. And you can't just replace those with a new lock because the mechanism inside the door is much different. And to pull it out and put in a new lock style mechanism would require filling the hole in the door with wood. There would be construction that's well beyond my ability to do to put a new lock or a new doorknob on these 100-year-old doors. And the knobs themselves are also roughly that old. So I did find a place online where I could buy new versions of those old locks. So they're not, ancient and rusty and falling apart. But they didn't quite fit right. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it right. I'm just going to take the door down. I'll take it outside. I'll just sand it down because it's basically the faceplate that didn't fit right. I'll screw it in the correct location then, fill in those screw holes with the wood putty, do everything correctly. So I started doing all of that. And I'm like, you know what? I have the door down. I'm going to have to put a coat of white paint on it anyway. I might as well paint the door panels then to match the color in my hallway so it looks really nice. So then I started doing that project. So basically this project then just escalated. It went from me, this will take me an hour to put in these new locks to, I guess I better, sand down the white paint around the doorknob to get everything to line up right to, I guess I'm painting these panels. And it was like a 10 to 12 hour project. It was an all day project.
And it was not.
And it was cool hot. Out. It was hot out too. But then on top of it, okay, so I get the door finished, we haul it back inside, we hang it, everything is great, it looks really sharp, but I can't just have now one door in my upstairs that has those painted panels. I now have to do all of them.
Oh boy! So you're going to be busy for the next few weekends.
I've basically now I have like 5 more Saturdays I'm clearly going to have to devote to repainting doors, which doesn't sound like something I want to do on a Saturday. And I can't do it in the winter. I have to do it outside when I can sand off old paint. I don't want to, make a mess in the house. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to just be devoting one Saturday for the next, 3 or 4 months to hauling a door outside and sanding it down and repainting it. So yeah, that the talking about it went from 1 hour to now 5 entire days in terms of project scope creep.
Wow, that doesn't sound fun at all.
It looks good, and my wife was happy, and I'm happy. I'm glad it turned out. But yeah, I bit off more than I intended with that project. So.
And it beats paying someone to do it.
I guess, yeah, right, exactly.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't.
Maybe not. Maybe I should just have done that.
They'd probably be like, yeah, we'll get it done in a day. How many doors? What?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, sure. We'll be done 3 hours. Boom.
Now that you say that, I should probably look and see if I can find someone that would do it relatively cheaply. No, I'll do it. It's good to do a few of those things yourself on occasion, so I'll finish the project up. We actually got to play some games this week, though. And I played, at least one. You played one game and had to take off, and we played together for the first time in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been a while since you and I have been in a pod together. Just in the past few weeks, you've been gone, I've been gone, or we've just been playing with new people in the shop.
Yeah. You busted out Brago. I played my Glissa deck.
Took me out for no reason.
I won the game. I was kind of surprised. That deck doesn't currently have a good win condition aside from just value. And basically I had to outvalue everybody at the table and grind it out old school style like we're playing back in 2011 EDH, which is how you won back then. But I managed to do it, so I guess that's still an option.
Yeah. I mean, Bull's Citadel did a lot for you.
Bull's Citadel put it over the top at the very end. That let me draw down like 20, because I drew down to 6 life, I think. I went from like 32 life down to 6, drawing cards with Bolas Citadel, and not just paying 4 or 5 mana for them each. That was because I had top out. That was me basically drawing like 20 plus cards, because I was using the top ability to pay 1 life per.
Yeah.
So yeah, that helped. I drew a bunch of cards off of the 2. I had Urza's Bauble, Mishra's Bauble out. So I drew a ton of cards off those too. I had so much more value than everybody else, and I was able to then have removal spells in play whenever anyone else tried to make a move to refill their hands or get an advantage in resources that way. So it was kind of the perfect situation for that deck. And you kind of you had mana problems, or not really mana problems, but you just had problems getting ahead on anything.
I got flooded. I kept just drawing lands and cards that would have put me, maybe overextended me into the game.
Sure.
So, I didn't want to, I wanted to try to play that deck slower, play more control-y, because I knew I was up against Glissa. I knew we had a Muldrotha deck at the table.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Remember,
yep.
I don't remember the other deck, but we just had enough decks where, trying to get through, I just wanted to play slow, try to outlast a couple players, and then lock out the game when it got down to me and someone else. And that's the scumbag way.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Because you had multiple mana rocks out that you would have been technically able to, kind of get a bunch of mana on tap with Brago, etc., and you just never had anything to use all the mana on, really.
No, I didn't. I mean, I had a good engine going. I had Curator's Ward out, and then you played Back to Nature, which kind of blew up. I had a few other good enchantments on the battlefield, and that just kind of destroyed my entire game plan for a while.
I think it was after I killed you, too, because you walked away from the table to, BS with somebody, and I finally got to cast Embodiment of Agonies, which is that 3-drop flying demon from Modern Horizons that comes into play with a counter on it for each.
I remember that. I remember you casting that.
And I dropped it for, I can't remember if it was 16 or 8. I mean...
It was more than 10.
Yeah, it was a good amount. And granted, that was later on in the game, but that's my first time playing that card. And, it's going to be less exciting to cast on turn, 4 or something when you might have 1 land in your graveyard. But, that scaled really nicely into the late game.
Yeah.
So that was my only real new card that I got to see in my decks this week. But felt good.
Yeah, it was a fun game. if you want to tell us about the games you've been playing or any interesting Magic stories, where can they find us, Dana?
Oh, throwing it to me this week. Okay.
Well,
you can find us on Twitter at CMDR Central. You can find us on Gmail at cmdrcentral@gmail.com. And you can find us on, what am I missing here, Max? At cmdrcentral.com.
You can, and Facebook.
Oh, yeah, Facebook. Yeah, at Facebook/CMDR Central.
There we go. And obviously we're on YouTube and whatnot. Everybody knows how to find us.
For sure. You can also find us on patreon.com.
Yeah, head over to patreon.com and search CMDR Central. And we are ready to announce our tier restructuring for our rewards.
Yeah.
So these are going to go live on August 1st. I believe that is a Thursday.
Yes.
So we're making some pretty big changes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep all of our rewards at the $1, $2, $5, and $10 level. So that's the shout out, the invite to the Slack chat room, the pin, and the mini deck techs. What we're changing is the $15 and the $30 levels. We're kind of expanding on those. So we're changing the current $15 Decks You Play tier to a $20 cost. You're going to get a Decks You Play episode, like you already do, but you're also just going to get the Commander Central playmat right along with that.
Yes. And anyone who's currently at $15, if we haven't done your tech yet, you're still grandfathered in. We're not going to, that's not changing for anybody who's an existing supporter.
Right. Existing supporters, you're grandfathered in at your current cost, but on top of that, we're also going to send you the playmat.
Yeah, why not?
And then we're taking the $30 reward that we currently have, which is the Decks You Play episode and the playmat. You know, we kind of bundled those together for a higher cost. We're now improving that to we're keeping it at $30, but the reward is completely changing. You're going to get for a 3 months of support at this level. We're going to invite you onto the show via Skype, or, hey, if you're local and you want to come to Eau Claire, you can record in person with us, and we'll provide you what the topic is going to be for the Monday show, so you can kind of prepare. We'll throw you some show notes, and you can come on the show and discuss the topic with us. On top of that, you're also going to get a Commander Central playmat, and we're going to get you one of our awesome Commander Central t-shirts from our Teespring store, and you can pick whatever design you want, and we'll order it and have it shipped to you.
Absolutely.
For the current patrons that are at the $30 level, obviously we have a few that are in the line for their Decks You Play episode. You're still good there. We're going to keep you in the queue for that show. On top of that, though, we're also going to send you a t-shirt.
Yes, indeed.
So, you know, you're grandfathered in, you're great to go. And then our brand new $40 reward for 3 months, you get to join us on air, but you can provide us with a couple topics to pick from. You know, we're gonna vet them out, make sure we think we can make a full show out of it. Sure. Stuff like that. Obviously, we don't want someone coming on the show with a down with Sheldon Menery. You know, the rules committee sucks. We're not going to talk about that. You know, we are going to say no every now and then to ideas, but I don't think it's going to happen that often.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine.
But yeah, so you get to come on the show with the topic you want. So hey, it could be a Decks You Play. You might want to do a live deck tech with us and, you know, challenge us on the question on the, you know, the cards we want to suggest to you or something like that. Or it could be you want to talk about what to expect when you go to a Magic Fest, like we're going to be talking about today. So the ball's in your court there, and that's actually probably going to be a cyclical reward. So hey, you did your 3 months. If you still want to support us or can support us for longer, you're just going to get kicked back into the queue. So sure. After another 3 months, you can come right back on the show.
Excellent. And, I like all of those ideas, Max.
Well, thank you. I literally put them together about an hour ago.
And you've been talking about, we've been talking about them, but we just finally did the list. Like, we probably should finalize this.
Yeah, I looked at my calendar, I'm like, oh, the 1st is next week, and we need to do this now, especially since Chris isn't here. It was a scramble, but we got it all agreed on. So, again, we just want to say thank you to everybody who is already supporting us on Patreon. It lets us do stuff, record our shows twice a week. It's going to buy me pants for when we go to video in August, you know. All that great stuff. It allows us to do these awesome rewards, the playmats. In fact, we got the new ones in.
Oh, yeah, we did.
So we did get the new ones in. I'll post a picture of that on Twitter tonight and on our Patreon page and Facebook so everybody can see the brand new ones. So just thank you to everybody.
Yes,
Your
so
support
much.
goes so far. It allows us to go to some awesome events to meet everybody, and that's really what this is about, is the community and meeting everybody.
Absolutely. You are dead on, Max. We also should do a little announcement here quick. We're doing this charity rotisserie draft with a few other content creators that's going to be culminating in a couple games at GP Vegas. The guys at Commander Social started it up. CCO was participating. A few other people out there in the Twitterverse that interact with content creators quite a bit are also part of it. We drafted our commanders and finished that up earlier in the week. And by the time this show airs, we should be in the process of actually filling out the decks. So everyone's drafting from the same pool as well. So there's, one Cyclonic Rift for everyone. So once that's gone, it's gone. It'll be interesting to see how this whole thing breaks down.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and we are doing this. It is a charity draft, so
for I believe Dell Children's Hospital is what we're raising the money for.
Yes, through the Extra Life Foundation. Yep. So I believe I've posted my page. I know a bunch of us, there are some perks that go along with donating, and I think Ryan and Zach will be covering that on their episode, I think, this week or next week.
Yeah, I think so, yep.
Look for that from them. Go check them out. They're great guys that make great content.
Who are the three commanders you took, Max?
I took Tristani, Selesnia's voice, the one we just deck checked. I took Anafenza the Foremost, the Abzan commander. And I took Krav, the Unredeemed.
The Krav one a little bit surprised me. I thought you were going to go with another Selesnia one just to kind of give you the option, but you went with your boy Krav.
I had to go with my boy Krav mainly because Mr. Dan Kraus, that's his go-to mono black commander, and I just wanted to swoop that out before he could pick him.
That's good usage.
Yes.
I wound up taking the original Marchesa the Black Rose, who's Grixis, and then two Izzet commanders. I have Joyra Weatherlight Captain, and I took the Saheeli the Gifted Planeswalker commander.
Interesting.
So I think you're probably going tokens, I'm going to guess, based on that spread, Max.
No, what would make you say that?
And I'm going to be doing some Grixis artifact shenanigans is my plan.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll see. We should be several rounds deep, if not more than that, by next week, by the time the show airs. So yeah, if you can check out and anything you could give to that charity, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm sure all the people participating are going to be posting links out there as well. So it'll be a good time, and it's for a good cause.
Exactly.
I think we also have a couple of new Patreon supporters to mention here.
We do. We have a couple new Patreon supporters. We want to say thank you to Jacob Cantonin and Tom. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Thom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's Tom.
I think it's Tom.
It's better than thumb, because I was going to go with that. So thank you for everybody, once again, for supporting us on Patreon.
Absolutely. And we have a couple contests here that are still in process as well. Oh, those will be winding up by the time this show airs, I think, or close to it.
Yeah, so when this show airs, you have a final few days to get entered in to win that two-headed dragon from 9th edition, the oversized card on Twitter. Find that tweet, retweet it, you'll get entered to win. And then the Patreon giveaway for this month is a Core 2020 bundle. So as long as you support us on Patreon or continue to support us on Patreon by the beginning of August 1st, you'll be entered to win that as well.
All right.
And we will be announcing the new contest probably on the deck tech that airs on the 5th.
Yeah, in the slot where we usually have the show on Monday, I would guess. Yes. Yeah.
Only because I have not come up with the new contest.
That makes sense. I think that's probably it for business.
I think it is. So, are you ready, Dana? Are you ready for your first Magic Fest?
Yeah, I am.
So, this is a topic I think we've done. This is our third time doing a show like this.
Yeah, we've talked about Magic Fest a couple of different times before.
But it's something that our listeners in our chat room suggest, because we do have a lot of people saying, hey, I'm going to my first Magic event or my first GP. What should I expect? So, you know what? This is an easy show to do for every year to help people get ready to know what to expect out in the wild there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's start out with the simple thing is traveling. So sometimes you're able to drive to Magic Fest or GPs, but sometimes you have to fly, like when we go to Vegas.
Right.
So when we travel, how do you plan your packing, Dana? Whether you're driving or flying, how do you decide how many decks to bring? What trade binder, no trade binder? How many accessories, playmats, stuff like that? How do you decide what to pack?
I do bring one playmat. I might try to bring an extra one this year. We'll see, because I want to rep ours, but the EDH Recast just got brand new ones too, so it might be nice to like be able to switch back and forth every other day with those. We'll see. So I might bring 2 playmats, but I think for decks, it's much more important to bring less decks to the floor maybe than it is total. Like, I think if you are in a secure, locked environment, you can afford to maybe bring 8 decks and then leave 4 of them in your room or something. If you're in a situation where no one's going to be in your room and they'll be safe there. But don't bring too many onto the floor of a GP, I would say, more than anything. They get heavy fast, and it's really easy to lose track of your decks. So I would just keep the amount you have with you physically on site when you're playing games down to, maybe no more than 4 per day. Maybe you can go to 5. It's probably a little bit of personal preference, but I would keep that relatively tight, although maybe depending on where you're staying, you can bring a few more and have them in your room.
Yeah.
My rough plan is I think I'm going to bring 8 decks, but I'm probably just going to rotate them out and only have, ever 4 with me on any given day. Gotcha.
Yeah. I definitely agree with all that. Like whether we travel and we're driving somewhere or we're flying somewhere, I mean, currently I only have 4 decks, so that's easy for me to bring.
Right.
For Vegas, so I'm probably going to have with this charity draft deck, and I think I'm probably going to bring Mogus, Chris's deck. I'm going to have 6 decks with me.
Yeah.
So there'll be some selection of what decks I take to the conference center every day. But, like Dana said, your bag does eventually get heavy, especially when you throw a binder in there or snacks. I mean, yeah, you're sitting, but at the same time, you're walking all day long, too, to find a new game or look at vendors and stuff like that.
And I think hopefully in Vegas, some of that should be alleviated because there is that command zone place to play where I think a lot of people will be playing throughout most of the day. So you're not going to be shuffling from place to place to place quite as much. I think that will be helpful. But that isn't the case everywhere. There's plenty of places that aren't going to have that set up where you are going to have to be bouncing around and finding places to sit. And you just want to maybe kind of minimize the weight in your backpack. For a full 10, 12-hour day there, that adds up in a hurry. As for, you mentioned binders. Man, I'm torn on binders. Like, I've brought mine to GPs multiple times and had nobody want to trade anything at all. And then I didn't bring mine to Kansas City, and I probably had half a dozen people looking to trade. So I'm like, well, so I don't know how to win that deal. If you're like just talking about trading with people on the floor that are playing games or you're playing pods with, man, I don't know. I've wasted a whole ton of space in my backpack lugging around a binder that I didn't use, and I wish I would have had it in Kansas City. So I don't have a good answer for that.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of trading. Like, I have binders with rares and mythics and like my lands and whatnot, but I don't know. I don't bring them because they're heavy. I have 4 different trade binders. And like you said, you can go to one event and nobody's trading, and you can go to another where everybody's trading.
Right.
So you take the gamble and decide, do you want to bring those binders or binder with you? If you're flying, that's either taking up a lot of space in your carry-on, or you have to put it in your checked luggage or your small carry-on suitcase that fits above your chair in the plane. So, I mean, it's all about space when it comes to flying for me. Like, I don't want to have to check a bag because I'm bringing my binders that I might not even take to the convention center.
Right. And I would say, talking about checking bags and that kind of thing, we didn't check bags going to Vegas last year, and I think we both are this year because we're going to take bigger bags.
We're going to take bigger bags to bring more swag to give away.
Basically, yes, that's the reason. But I'm still going to cram all of my decks into my backpack just so I can keep it within my sight. I'm not going to have any of my decks going through baggage check. I want them in my arms or in my hands, or worst case, in the bin above my head the whole time. maybe you would feel comfortable, or by you I mean the people listening would be comfortable with theirs being in a checked bag. I'm not.
Yeah, I've never had my luggage get lost while flying when I've checked a bag, but I guarantee you the first time I check a bag with my decks in it, I'm going to lose my luggage. And I keep all my decks in an archive, in a Ultimate Guard archive in their boulders, so it's a really easy thing. When I go through security, I can take the archive out, I put it in its own box, I open the lid so they can see the 4 separate deck boxes, and they just can see its cards.
Yep.
That was the easiest thing for me to do last year. They just said, okay, cool, and they never even checked it. They didn't ask about them. So be prepared, though. I know Josh Lee-Kwai has said it a bunch of times where he'll go through security and, people recognize him. Hey, you're the guy from Game Nights.
Right.
Or, they don't, or you don't take them out of your bag and they see these small boxes that are super dense. That's never good to see on the X-ray machine.
Right.
So just be prepared to have them ready to take out easily while you're going through security.
Yeah, totally agree. And speaking of backpacks, we might as well talk about, the bag, backpack, whatever you choose to bring to the actual Magic Fest when you're going into the building to play for the day. Bring a bottle of water or some kind of a container that you can have water in. Vegas is obviously super dry, but like every one of those convention centers I've ever been into for a Magic Fest or for a GP has been crazy dry because they're big and air conditioned and they're like industrial centers. They're just dry. You're just going to be chugging water all day long. And it's Vegas being Vegas and the desert is, just doubly so. Have something for water. Yeah,
for sure. And, not just water. I mean, we can jump into this now, but bring snacks.
Yes.
Most Magic Fests are held in a convention center, so you're getting concession stand food. Out of all the Magic Fests I've been to, and I've been to probably 6 or 7 in different cities, so it's not just I've been to the one in Minneapolis 6 times. I've done Minneapolis, we've done Kansas City, we've done Madison, we've done Milwaukee, we've done Vegas, we've done all these other places. Concession stand food is still concession stand food no matter where you are. Yep. It's greasy, heat lamp.
And expensive usually.
Yes, extremely expensive. So I like to always pack like protein bars or like some sort of bar that's going to keep me full for a long period of time. And that's still healthy.
Yeah.
I know you bring trail mix every time.
Yep, I like a trail mix with me, but I like that kind of the similar thing there. We're both getting some protein and it fills you up and, tastes decent and keeps you from going to get that greasy burger that is number 1 going to be expensive and number 2 is going to be greasy and you can't really eat it while you're playing, whereas I can pop a handful of trail mix while I'm playing and it doesn't affect the game because it's relatively dry and clean and it's discreet in my backpack, so I can munch on that throughout the course of multiple games and not have it make a mess or disturb anything, and it keeps you full and keeps you alert. Like your brain gets dumb when you're hungry. It doesn't function that well, and we're not playing in a GP where we're trying to, make day 2 or anything. We're just playing casual Commander, but you still want to be playing at the best level you can play at, and you're not going to do that if you're hungry and distracted and thirsty and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So what? We've covered backpack, we've covered packing, we've covered food. So what about just you? So you get to the event, whether you show up Friday on day 1 or you show up on Saturday, when the main GPs usually start. What should people expect when they walk in the doors?
You walk in basically, and there's a gazillion tables, all numbered, and there's anywhere from 6 to 8 to 40 in the case of Vegas vendor booths scattered in some array, either through the middle of the room or around the periphery, or however they have it set up. There's various things along the very edge of the room somewhere with judge stations, and if there's some kind of coverage going on, that's over there. Places where you can check in for different events. There's usually some kind of a corner or place where artists are signing stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's big, and it can be, I don't know if I'd use the word overwhelming, but it's a lot to take in at first if you haven't done it before.
Yeah, for sure. I remember walking into my first GP, because that's what they were called back then, and it's it's a huge conference center and it's tons of people. Like,
Right.
it's a lot of people. And I'm one that doesn't like to be in large groups of people. So,
Sure.
that little social anxiety kind of kicks in. But you also realize all these people are here to play Magic.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? You're not just at some packed concert or some packed, event in your local town. You're there to play Magic with the other 1,000 people there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's thousands of people playing, and usually if there's people that you follow on Twitter that you know are going to be there that are playing Commander, they will usually kind of like keep an update of where they're at and playing. We've done that at events we've gone to, and plenty of other content creators that I follow have done kind of the same thing at various events, so it makes it relatively easy to figure out who's playing pickup games where. Again, I think the Command Zone thing in Vegas will sell off some of that because you can just go play in that Command Zone location. But that's if you're looking for players, just look for those kind of things online first of all, because it can be a little bit tricky if you're just playing pickup games to find where everyone's sitting in a big room like that.
Yeah, for sure.
For myself, the first thing I usually do, and in the case of Vegas, it'll be Thursday, but it's on Friday for most other Magic Fests that aren't 4 days long. I try to do my vendor stuff usually on Thursday and get it taken care of. If there's specific cards I want to pick up, or if I'm trying to make a sale and get rid of some cards or whatever, I kind of want it done. I'm not sure if there's some kind of a thing where like you're better off making sales on Sunday afternoon because people are looking for money. I don't know if there's any breakdown that's maybe financially more advantageous. I just want it done. If there's extra cards I've brought that I'm going to get rid of, I'm obviously not playing with them, so I don't want them in my pack anyway. I might as well get them gone and not worry about them. And if you're going to do things like dig through the dollar bins or whatever, that stuff is, most populated on that Thursday or Friday morning before anyone else has picked through it. So that's what your goal is. You can do that right away too. If you're looking to pick up maybe rarer or harder to find cards, I think you want to get them before someone else does as well. So I think pickings do visibly get slimmer as the weekend goes on, as stock disappears out of cases. And particularly a place like Vegas, where most of those people are coming from stores that are a long ways away, they can't replenish their stock. So like what they have with them is what they have to sell. And once that, particularly if you're looking for like some obscure foil or something, once that one copy is gone, then they just don't have another one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm with you in the same boat. That day one when you walk in the door, I hit the vendors. My strategy, I think it's pretty similar to yours. You look at all of them first, because we always have a list of what we are hoping to pick up at a Magic Fest. So scour all the vendors, find the one that has the most of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And gives the best trade-in value if you brought cards to sell. That's what I always do. So, if Cool Stuff Inc. has 5 of the 20 cards I want, and they always give like 30% extra on trade-in credit, well, that's cool, but some smaller store like Face to Face Games, well, they're not that small. They're the biggest store in Canada.
Like Joe's card collection or something.
Joe's card collection, he might not give that 30% trade-in bonus. He might give 20 or 10, but hey, he has all the cards I want and maybe even better prices than the big guys because he just wants to flip his inventory.
And I didn't do much in Kansas City, but I did have some fairly large transactions at Magic Fest Madison. And I might as well just say what I did there, because it isn't that big. I think Madison had maybe a dozen vendors, I think, so it wasn't too huge. But that was also a decent enough selection. I've seen smaller. I had 2 cards I wanted to specifically get. I wanted an Underground Sea, and I wanted a Transmute Artifact, and I know roughly what the prices are on those. So I just walked through the vendors and just verified who had both of those things, or at the very least the Underground Sea. That was the one I wanted the most. And everyone had Underground Sea, and they were, different prices based on condition, but like nothing that was a crazy good bargain, nothing that was really overpriced or anything. Most people had a Transmute Artifact, so I realized that, okay, I can get the 2 cards I want probably from any of these vendors. So then at that point, okay, well, what are they going to give me for the cards I want to get rid of? So I just went from vendor to vendor and said, okay, here's, I gave them this little pack of cards. I had like a dozen different things I was looking to part with. Maybe some people have a binder and it takes longer, but in my case, I had like a dozen cards I was looking to part with. And, you know, they gave me kind of a rough approximation. We can give you this much for these. And I said, okay, if I get an Underground Sea and a Transmuted Artifact from you, you know, what would I get back in cash? And they figured that out. Of course, nothing's official. They're like, we would have to like, you know, look at these and verify everything closely. But roughly based on what you have, this is what you can get. Okay, good deal. Thank you. And I went to the next one. Like, don't be afraid to shop around just because someone, you know, don't waste someone's time for 45 minutes, but also you're not indebted to do anything just because they gave you a price either. You can still go look at somebody else. And I went and talked to, you know, I think 6 or 8 different people, got different rough prices, and I wound up trading in the cards at, I think it was 95 MTG, where DJ Johnson from Brainstorm Brewery was working that weekend. And actually, I talked to DJ. They had a really nice condition Underground Sea. They had a great Transmuted Artifact. They were easy to work with. Not that other vendors weren't, but like they just put together the best package for me.
Yep. And it helps when you sort of know the people there. I mean,
right.
We've interacted with DJ a little bit, but I mean, at least he knows of us. We know of him, that type of thing.
Well, and in DJ's case too, like he's a person in the Magic community who has a name out there and has a reputation as well. So like he's not going to do something underhanded in a deal either. Not that I think anyone at a GP level vendor is going to, but like there's also a comfort level for me at that point. I'm like, well, if all things are equal, I'll go with the person who I know and who I know is dealing on the up and up because of their reputation. So that's where I made that transaction. But in past years, I've gone to different vendors and got a better price. Like, you know, when I in Minneapolis, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I wound up picking up a moat doing a similar thing. I had a handful of cards I wanted to get rid of, and I can't remember who it was, if it was Cool Stuff or who it was. There was one vendor that gave me a significantly better deal for the cards I was trading in, and had, I think, probably the best condition moat of the ones I looked at too. And it was, you know, a $100 plus difference in the transaction from that one vendor compared to everybody else. So it was absolutely worth my time in that case, particularly to shop around and devote an extra hour of my Magic Fest time to finding that deal.
Exactly. Another thing is, when you get later into the weekend, don't be afraid to try to haggle.
Yeah.
Especially because it's Sunday, they're packing up to leave. They don't want to bring a bunch of inventory back, especially for the people that either drove 12 hours or the people that were ballsy enough to fly across the country to be a vendor. You know, the less they have to bring back is cheaper on their expense report, essentially.
And, you know, no one's going to give you that, you know, $250 value for $200 just to not bring it back. But they might give you that $250 value and throw in that $2 standard card that you wanted for essentially, you know, give it to for $248 and $2 or something. Like, they'll make deals like that. And as long as you are in a good mood and willing to hear them say no and are polite, and don't waste their time and be too demanding, absolutely, it's worth your 5 seconds to ask, because the worst that can happen is they can say, I can't do that. Right.
I mean, in Kansas City, I picked up a Teferi's, a Judge Foil Teferi's Protection, and they had 2. The booth I bought them from had 2, and they were the lowest price in the room by about $10. And so I actually, it was the day one, and I made the guy an offer. I said, can I buy both of them? And I think I took what each one was, added together, and I knocked off like $10 or something. Sure. I'm like, can I buy both of them for this price? He goes, man, he said, not today. It's only day one. This card is probably going to go right away. I said, nope, I totally get it. I'll just take the one then. Where I bet if it was still there on something like on Sunday,
yeah, right,
I might have been able to get them both for maybe a little cheaper. Who knows? But it's still worth asking, as long as you're polite.
Yeah,
you know, those people are there from sun up to sundown, dealing with all of us, the players, the community members, and having to tell people no, or no, we don't have that card, or, you know, digging through bulk boxes for stuff. You know, they're there all day. It probably gets tiring, so just be nice to them.
Yes, absolutely. Right. You are absolutely going to catch more flies with honey than you will with vinegar, as my grandma used to say. Although I think dead meat works better than either of those for flies, but that's not the point.
That's an open flesh wound.
And, you know, you mentioned this though, Max, like, you can walk from vendor to vendor to vendor, like, forget even talking to them. Maybe you don't have any trade-ins. you can still walk from table to table to table with your phone open and like a note app up and be like, oh, this place has the Invention Gauntlet of power for $45. This place has it for $42. This one has it for $52. Like, you do see those kind of swings sometimes, and sometimes they're condition based. Maybe that $42 one is beat to heck, and the $50 one is pristine, but not always. Sometimes that $45 one is pristine, and so is the $50 one, and it was definitely worth the 20 steps you took to go to a different vendor and look in their case and make a note and be like, man, I'm going to save $5 on that Gauntlet. I'm just going to get this one. And that's $5 more you can spend on some other cool card.
Exactly.
So do that. Like, don't be in too huge of a hurry.
Yep. You mentioned bulk boxes. I also want to bring up some vendors have like binders, like foil binders or just bulk rare binders. So Channel Fireball is really good at this. They'll have like 4 binders out, and on the first day, it's like a $15 binder, a $10 binder, a $5 binder, a $2 binder, and a $1 binder. So all the cards in that binder are that price. Well, I think in Kansas City, Saturday they were all that same price. By noon on Saturday, they had knocked all the prices for each binder down by a couple bucks, except for the $1 binder. Oh. So it's cool. And like, right. I think I found a foil. I found each piece of Blood Bond in foil in binders, and I got them both for under probably $10.
Yeah, I mean, you can. In part of the advantage of that is, sometimes those cards were put in those binders, quite a while ago, and the price has sometimes then changed too. So you can actually find decent deals in there if you want to dig through them. And I know I found cards where I'm like, oh man, last year at Vegas, I picked up, I think, 2 different Dolmen Gate foils for a couple bucks. And it's not like an expensive card. It's like $8 or $10 for the foil. But I'm like, I'm not even running it right now. I'm like, no. But I like Dolmen Gate. I think it's a cool card. I've always wanted to find a place for it in a deck. And I'm like, oh, the foil looks really good. It's a Lorwyn foil. That's not something you see very often. I'm like, I know that's worth more than $2. So I'm just going to scoop up both of these right now. And if I never use them, it's $2. And I almost guarantee I can Card Kingdom those for double what I paid for them on some order if I wanted to do that.
Exactly.
And that was because I spent 10 minutes looking through a binder.
Yep.
And I actually found, I think this was Minneapolis last year, someone had a binder filled with marked and autographed cards. And some of them were marked as in like someone had like written on them with a Sharpie or something dumb. But there was a bunch of them there that were actually artist signed as well. And I have a couple, like I've seen enough signatures by various artists. I'm not an expert or anything, but like no one's probably forging a signature on a $10 card, I wouldn't think. Particularly with the skill it takes to look exactly like a replica you could find online. Like you can look up someone's signature online pretty easily if they're a famous artist. I would imagine no one is investing the skill it takes to learn to do a really great forgery of Rob Alexander or something on a $10 card. And that's what I found last year. I found a foil Llanowar Wastes of the original Rob Alexander art that was autographed by him in that autographed or marked cards binder. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, the foil Llanowar Waste is from Apocalypse is worth more than the $10 they were asking for it, I think, let alone one with an actual signature from the artist on it. So I snapped that up and put it in my Glissa Trader deck. So yeah, you can find all kinds of cool stuff. Actually, one of our friends last year in Minneapolis also was digging through the foil, and I can't remember what card it was. I think it might have been Words of Wind. He found
or it was Kindred Discovery.
Oh, he found it, yeah. Well, which was at the time, and it probably still is a $10+ card. And was it like in a $4 bin or a $5 bin or something?
It was in like a 2 for $5 bin.
So he grabbed that, and he also got a foil of some old thing that had just spiked too, that was also like $2 or $3. But he then turned around and traded that foil in to a different vendor for like $30 in store credit.
Exactly.
Now that's not going to like number one, you have to know some card values off the top of your head, and he happened to know that one was worth money, and you have to invest the time to do it. But like, don't discount those $2 binders and bins as being all garbage. You can find good cards in those.
For sure. So I think the next thing is the reason we go to Magic Fest is to play Commander.
Yeah.
So when you go to Magic Fest, you have a bunch of options. Channel Fireball Events always offers the Commander Fanatic package, which gets you X amount of the paid pods, X amount of the on-demand pods. And the difference between those is the more expensive paid pod is a 2-round thing. So you play one game with 4 people, and then there's another pod in your group that plays a game, and then the best, the top 2 from each pod, I think, go to the final game. And then, those, you get more prize tickets, which you can redeem at the prize wall, fun stuff. The more on-demand stuff is just a single 4-player game. You get your prize tickets, and you're done. On top of it, those Commander Fanatic packages, they usually throw in like the GP promo Lightning Bolt or the promo lands, and usually like a deck box or something that, Channel Fireball events has thousands of. So that's one thing. Or you can just go and play pickup games like we do. Hey, we're going to be at table 427. Come find us. Right. And you just find these people sitting in the common areas, maybe not in the main event area or the side tables, but just in a common area saying, we're playing EDH, come join us. So it kind of is depending on what you want to do, and I know we've talked about this in the past, those paid games, you need to be ready to be competitive, for the lack of better words.
Well, and ready to be not competitive too. Like it's a real crapshoot what you're going to get. I remember it was Minneapolis, one of the GPs a year or 2 ago, probably 2 years ago, I think, where we sat down, we signed up at the same time. You and I got put in different pods, and I sat down against like Narset and Gitrog Monster combo. And I think it was 2 Narset decks, 2 like fast mana Narset extra turn, extra combat step decks, and a Gitrog Monster combo deck. And then I don't remember what I had out, but like I was not playing on that level. Comparatively, you were in a pod with like people playing relatively casual decks. And that was just like the entire luck of the draw. You guys had like a 45-minute or hour-long game with a ton of stuff happening. And I had, if I remember right, like one of the Narset players tried to do his attack step combo, and it got countered or force of willed by the other Narset player, who then tried to combo out. And the previous Narset player at that point had found some way to stop him, and the Gitrog Monster player then comboed off. And I did nothing. Like I'm like sitting at 4 lands and, with whatever jank deck I was playing. So yeah, I mean, and that's not a knock on any of those players. Like when you pay for a paid pod with tickets in the line, some people play to win, and that's what you should expect. But you might not get that too. So like also understand that if you bring your loaded for bear deck, you might be shooting bunnies too. That can happen as well.
Exactly. I mean, and I think it'll help a little better now that Rule 0 is a thing. Having that power level talk, whether you're playing in a paid pod or an on-demand pod, it's just nice to know, hey guys, players, what's the power level are we thinking? And if people start saying, I'm playing an 8, 9, 10 power deck, and if you don't have a deck that can compete with that, you can try saying, hey, I don't really have that, and maybe they'll be nice and shift it down. Maybe they won't.
Right,
but
maybe they won't too, because they're playing for tickets. Maybe they're like, I want 4 more tickets so I can go buy that thing on the wall. I'm just going to put on my best.
That oversized Jace Planeswalker card or something, yeah.
And that's legit too. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to expect in a paid pod as well. So it can go either of those ways. Just be open-minded to have it go any way possible.
Yeah.
But you can also show up with 4 people for one of those paid pods and just say all 4 of us want to play together, and they can accommodate that as well.
Yes, that is something great that has changed recently too. I think that was new this year, which I think is great because I know that's probably what I'll do a few times with the CCO Dude Bros in Vegas, which is I'll go get some tickets. Well,
I actually wound up playing in 2 paid pods with them last year that way, and I think as part of the command zone thing this year, we get 4 more paid pods, and I'll probably do the same thing. I'll just do those with people that are looking to play games. I'm not going to just play with strangers. I'll play with people that we've already ahead of time figured out what our deck power level is going to be.
Right. So we touched on what to expect when you're playing, what to expect in general, how to pack, what you should bring to eat and whatnot. Did we miss anything?
I would say we could talk a few minutes about security.
Oh, for sure.
Now, I've never had anything stolen, and I don't think you have either.
you haven't had anything stolen, but you did leave your deck at a table.
Matter of fact, I had the opposite of that happen. And I think it was Minneapolis a couple of years ago. We actually played in the main event. It was a standard GP.
It was Cons standard.
No, I think it was it Cons? No, I think it was Shadows.
Yeah, Coco was still legal.
Yeah, both of the Gatewatch Shadows, I think. And I beat a guy in a match, and one of the people we were with came over and said that actually Chris was playing against, I don't remember who it was.
Adrian Sullivan.
And it's just luck of the draw. I got in a match with Adrian Sullivan. So I'm like, oh man, okay. So I shook the guy's hand and we signed the slip, and I jumped up and we ran over to watch that match, and I left my deck behind.
Yep.
And the guy I was playing against, he heard the conversation with Adrian Sullivan and tracked down where Adrian Sullivan was sitting in that round and brought my deck back over to me.
Yeah.
So I've had the opposite of having something stolen. I've gotten someone give me it was a standard dex, and it wasn't a particularly great one, so it wasn't anything that amazing, but it was super nice of that person to do, for sure. And we had actually been talking, him and I, while we were just playing about Commander, actually, when we were playing our standard games, and he had mentioned, we were asking about what cards we were looking for to pick up during the GP, and he had mentioned he wanted a foil Pact of Negation, and he had a regular one he was looking to try to trade in a deal to pick up a foil one, and I just happened to recall that bit of information, and I had a foil Pact of Negation in a deck that wasn't a foiled out deck or anything, so after he gave it to me, I swapped him my foil Pact of Negation for his non-foil.
Yeah. And you know what? That happening to you, I hate to say this, but I feel like that's a very low percentage. It's going to happen. Yeah,
I mean, hard to say. There's so many nice people out there, but you don't rely on that happening for sure.
Right.
We both are carrying backpacks. Keep an eye on it. If you're sitting to play a game and your pack is next to you, have your table leg through one of the loops in the backpack so somebody can't, without doing a whole lot of work, and get it away from you stealthily. I usually try to keep mine between my legs with one of the straps between the table, or one of my chair legs between one of the straps so it can't be lifted. But be careful. You just never know. I would say, though, much more risky. People have gotten robbed in bathrooms at GPs before. I don't think it's common, but it's happened.
No, yeah, it's not common, but it has happened. I mean, I agree with you. Just make sure your bag, don't hang your bag on the back of your chair. Put it through the chair loop.
That's the one to not do. Don't hang on the back of your chair.
Yeah.
For sure.
Put it through the leg of the chair or the leg of the table, or if you're sitting at the end of the table, put it on the inside of where the table leg folds down. So, it would take a lot for someone to obviously bend over, reach through underneath the table and pull your bag out.
And, we're lucky because we have each other at those things. So, I can get you to watch my bag, or you can get me to watch yours. Or, in Kansas City, we had Matt and Joey there as well. So we had several of Matt's friends. So it was very easy for us to be like, I'm running to the bathroom, I'm going to leave my bag. Can you guys watch it? But that's not an option for everybody.
No, not at all. And, it just kind of comes down to common sense.
Yeah.
If you've been hanging out with some strangers and you feel like you've made friends, sure, if you're running to the bathroom quick, if you feel comfortable with them watching your stuff for 5-10 minutes, great.
And I've had people do that. I've had that done to me before. People that I didn't know, but I've played 3 games with, and they know who I am enough to be comfortable. I'm not going to turn into a thief because I have a reputation such as it is in the community, as relatively small as my degree of being known is. And I don't mind doing that, but I would be cautious about that to a degree, particularly because Vegas is just so big.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I actually, for the first time, I just picked up a small little combination lock for the zippers in my backpack so I can zip them closed. It was a $10 lock on Amazon with a metal cord. I can thread it through the 2 zippers so it can't be opened up easily. So I'm going to bring that this year. I haven't had a problem in the past, but I feel like I would better safe than sorry, and it's worth my few dollar investment to make it so somebody can't sneakily behind me as I'm waiting in line to get an autograph from an artist or something, open a few zippers. I don't think it would happen, but it's kind of I'd rather not lose a expensive deck to something like that when it's relatively easy to deal with. And some of the new backpacks, even whether it's the Ultimate Guard, that Ammonite, or what's the one you picked up, Max?
It's made by, I don't remember who it's made by, but it's the one that all the booths at Magic Fest, the merch booths, are selling. I think it's made by, it's not Swiss, but it's a brand like Swiss. So it's a very sturdy backpack. It looks really cool.
And it kind of has like the hidden zippers that are tough to get to easily if it's on someone's back. So a lot of the new designs are actually somewhat safe in that regard as well.
Very much so.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot of vendors selling a lot of things, ranging from pins to T-shirts to hats. You mentioned that backpack. So there is a lot of stuff, and Vegas has more than most of those places. Take your time looking around there as well. But there's some really cool stuff that's worth checking out. I think I picked up a couple pins last year. You did as well. I think you got a T-shirt.
I actually bought the coaster set, the Guild.
Oh, that's right.
The Guild symbol coaster set. Which is really cool. We use it all the time. Yeah. But yeah, there's tons of merch, whether it's at the Legion Gaming Store, because they're the official like MTG shop now for merchandise. They're at all the Magic Fest. They sell all the cool like safe word, keyword T-shirts, that represent all the colors or guilds. But on top of that, vendors just don't sell cards. They sell sealed product. They sell those cool Commander spin down life counters from like the Commander Anthology sets. There's just a ton of random stuff. And on top of it, artists are there selling prints and doing signatures and tokens. So be prepared to browse and maybe pick some stuff up and support some artists. Get your signatures, get your tokens made by someone, stuff like that.
Are there any final things that you are going to do differently or want to try to do a little bit differently this time that you didn't really think of in the past? And like all of a sudden now you're like, okay, I'm going to do this time because I regretted it the last couple times? I'm
going to try to play with more strangers. I guess that makes sense. Granted, like when we'll use Vegas as an example. I mean, we hang out with, it's you and I. We have the entire EDH Rec crew, whoever comes. There's other content creators like Commander Social, CCO. Like we're all friends, so we end up just grouping together at 3 or 4 tables, and we just kind of shift between each other. I think this year I want to try to do more of like, hey, you're a listener, come on, play with us for a couple games. Or some random stranger sitting at a table looking for a game, come play with us. That type of stuff is what I want to do better this year.
That's a good idea. I like that. Yeah, because
particularly
when you get there early in the morning and there's no one around, it's easy to be like, hey, I'll just play a game with these, 3 guys that I have been hanging with all week. And then people come up and you're like, well, you're mid-game, and they're looking. So then they start playing a game, and yours ends, and theirs is already going. And then you're like, well, let's just start another one. And like, it's pretty easy to blow 3 or 4 hours not changing up pods that much just because timing gets messed up.
Exactly.
So maybe that's what I'll be like, you know what, I'm going to take a walk and look at a vendor right now for 20 minutes and come back and see if I can get in a different group rather than just trying to hammer them out game after game and not changing up much because you're kind of being impatient.
Right. And especially like Vegas, we all are staying at pretty much the same hotel. So we can just go back to the hotel when the hall closes and just jam games all night with the group of friends we're with.
So I'll try to shake it up during the day a little bit. That makes sense.
Yes.
I can't remember who I was listening to talking about GPs. It might have been, man, I don't even remember. Someone mentioned like bringing chapstick. And I remember
that was Ryan on Commander Ad Populum.
Okay. I remember last year thinking the same thing. Like, man, I wish I had a tube of chapstick because it was just so dry in that place. If hand lotion is your thing, my hands usually don't get dried out for whatever reason, but my lips absolutely do. So that's one of the things I've already made a note to myself on my packing list to throw in a tube of chapstick.
Nice.
And I think he mentioned, it was Ryan for sure, because he also mentioned hand sanitizer. He packs one because you touch so many cards and money and stuff like that. That's dirty. He likes to have some hand sanitizer on him, which makes sense.
Oh, yep. And I carry a stick of deodorant in my bag now.
That's a good. Well, I think he mentioned that too. That's a good idea as well.
Yeah. So I'll go to the bathroom. Every few times I'll bring my deodorant with me and just freshen up, just so I don't stink.
Yeah. I would say maybe something to pay attention to is wearing layers as well, whether it's just a T-shirt with a hoodie or T-shirt with an overshirt or whatever, so you have the option, because the temperature can be wonky in those places. Again, Vegas is a desert. It might well be 111 degrees outside, but you don't know how the temperature-controlled air is going to be inside that building. So, you also don't want to be freezing your butt off all day long in a T-shirt, but you don't want to be cooking if that sweatshirt you wore and it's 80 degrees in there too. You can never tell. So have the option to switch, either take that sweatshirt off and tie it around your waist, or So you're just wearing the t-shirt or leave it on in case things get warm. That was something I kind of noticed a little bit last year. I wish I would have paid more attention to versus like just wearing my t-shirt. There were some days I wanted a little bit more warmth than that. So good, because particularly walking over there, like, man, it's insanely hot outside. There's, insects bursting into flames as they fly by. But then once you get inside, it's a whole different deal. Like literally Patrick Sapola from Commander Time, who's very, very pale.
Yes.
Like he got a sunburn walking between buildings.
Yeah, the 12 feet between
Right,
buildings,
like,
he got sunburned.
You're not exaggerating. It was not much more than that, and he was getting sunburned. So like Vegas particularly is crazy warm. It's crazy sunny, and that isn't always the case when you get inside a giant air-conditioned, climate-controlled convention center.
Yeah.
I think that's all the maybe useful advice I have, Max.
Same here. So we hope this is super educational for all the people that have never been to a Magic Fest before.
Yeah. And hopefully we see you at one in the very near future, because we have a couple coming up here in the next 8 weeks. I think we have 3 different ones we're going to.
Yeah, we'll be at Magic Fest Minneapolis the second weekend of August. We'll be there on Saturday.
I think we'll be there for the day on Saturday.
Yep. We'll be in Magic Fest Vegas for the entire thing.
Yep.
We'll be there all day on Sunday this year instead of leaving.
Yep.
So we'll be able to jam games all day. And then shortly after that, like a week after that, we'll be at Magic Fest Indianapolis.
Oof. So we've got a busy end of the summer coming up here for us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all of the events. I'm also looking forward to them all being done.
Yes. But you know what? I think next year we're going to try to hit even more. Like this year, I think we all told hit 5 different Magic Fests. I think next year we'll definitely do that amount. I think we've been talking about trying to get to what's in Roanoke. Then
SCG
Con in the spring or for summer whenever that gets scheduled.
Yep.
So we're going to try to make even more trips next year, I think.
Yeah, for sure. We can't wait to get out there and meet all of our listeners, play games with you, and just, have fun.
I'm excited for Vegas. I'm ready to go.
I've been ready to go for about a month.
I mean, this show airs and we're only a couple weeks away from leaving, so it's creeping up on us very quickly.
Yeah, it is. So I think that wraps up our show today. Our podcast theme is Retro Future Dirty by Kevin MacLeod, licensed via Creative Commons. Our shows are edited by Ken Peddle. You can find him on Twitter at LOAD3R. You can find me on Twitter at CMDRCentral_Max. You can find Dana at Dana Roach. And of course, you can find Chris at YSquishy1. We'll be back on Thursday with another installment of Decks You Play. Until then, I'm Max.
And I'm Dana.